Yeah, hi everyone. In this video, we will see how we can start and continue completing this particular lab from exercise 1. As you, as I was telling in the lab, in the theory class, I said during theory, I'll be going with Entra ID, and in the lab, you practice according to Active Directory domain. Because the AVD, what we create, must be domain joined. Either you can join it with Entra ID or Active Directory. So Entra ID track is what we are discussing in the class. See, only the directory is different. Whereas everything, whatever we discuss, like host pool, session host, application group, it might be desktop application group or a remote app application group. And after creating the application group, we contain them in a workspace, and that workspace will be subscribed by the authenticated user, and we need to give the proper permission for those user. All those things we do it, but according to Entra ID. But in your lab part, you have it with Active Directory. So because it is Active Directory, first you have to set up that Active Directory, and then you have to port or sync that Active Directory with Azure Cloud, and then you start using AVD creations. So for that, first we need to set up this Active Directory. In that regard, you have this ADDS deployment. So we deploy an Active Directory Domain Services, that is ADDS. And for that, we need to follow these steps. Let's go with the first step. Let's prepare for an VM deployment. So if you are starting for the first time, you have to log into Azure portal, go to Microsoft Edge, search for portal.azure.com. You need to log in using your newly created account. So in my case, it is Dhanabal AZ140. So in here, so it says that sign in by providing the credentials of a user account with owner role in the subscription you will be using in this lab. So subscription was provided to us through this particular promo code. We encash that subscription against our account. So in this account, we have the necessary owner role, so we can do all the activities. Now I need to search for Entra ID. When I search Entra ID, I need to go to Manage Properties. Under section Manage, I need to go to Properties. I find it here. Under the Properties, first we need to stop the security defaults. So if you scroll down, you get to see something called Manage Security Defaults. Click on that. By default, it is enabled. So what exactly it means? Azure itself provides us some basic security recommendations, and it will enable that security recommendations as well. But we say we want to disable that basic recommendation, whatever is given by Azure. And I say that my organization is planning to use its own conditional access policy and say safe. Yes, I want to disable it. All these things we have done. So we went for searching Entra ID, and then we went to manage and properties. And then under the properties, we selected the security defaults link, and we disabled it by saying that our organization is planning to use conditional access policy. I hope it is done successfully. Yes, if you go and check it once again, you can see that it is disabled. Now, the next thing is, let's start a Cloud Shell. Yeah, if it is your first time, then you have to repeat that step, what I have done it in the previous video. But once you have done, then that's enough. We can start accessing. Yes, this is done. Next is, let's deploy a Azure VM, which is running ADDS domain controller. And this deployment I'm going to use with the create with the help of Azure Resource Manager. So what are we going to do now? So first we need to set up an Active Directory, right? Obviously, Active Directory will be in on-prem environment. So if you have an on-prem, you can set up that Active Directory. So when you install a role called ADDS, okay, you will be getting a domain controller. And this domain controller is the one which will be hosting our Active Directory databases and all. And at the end of the day, we can say that Active Directory is installed and the user authentication and authorization is happening using this AD. For that, we need to have an on-prem if at all we want to set. Just to avoid this, because we can't have any on-prem. So what we do is we will create one VM, and I consider this VM as our VM which is having ADDS role enabled. So it means that it will also have the domain controller, everything in it. And that VM will be running in Azure itself. So it is something like you have a VM and it is acting like an Active Directory domain service, but it is running in Azure account. That's it. So first we set up that. So let's complete that first. Let me go and deploy. And before running this statement, you need to replace all the regions. Wherever you get a region, select Southeast Asia region. For that, let me have one notepad. Let me name it as command prompt and then paste it. Okay, let me replace this thing. Azure region with Southeast Asia. Southeastasia. Southeast Asia. Now I can say Control A, Control C, come to Azure portal and Control V. What are we doing? We are just creating two variables. One is location variable and another one is resource group name variable. And at the end of the day, we are creating a resource group with the name AZ140. For example, if you go to, let me open a new tab. Just I want to show you right now what resource groups we have. For that, if I search for resource group, currently there won't be any resource groups available. And we are creating a resource group using this PowerShell command. Yes, it said a resource group got created successfully. Now, when I refresh here, I can see that one resource group getting displayed. It might take some time, around 10 to 15 seconds delay will be there. Let me refresh it once again. Yes, you can see I have created one resource group using this particular instruction. And I use the location as Southeast Asia. You can even see that location. The location is Southeast Asia. Simple. Now let's go and close the Cloud Shell pane. Okay, I have closed it. Now from the lab computer. So this is our lab computer, lab VM. We need to search for this particular link. Let me open a new tab and search for this particular link and hit enter. So it will take me to ARM template, and that ARM template, when I deploy it to Azure cloud, it creates a Azure VM and will be running Active Directory domain services. So it means what? We can't have an on-prem setup. So instead of worrying, we create one VM in Azure itself, and this VM will host our Active Directory. Simple. That's it. So assume that this is that machine VM I'm going to create. So this VM will be created with ADDS role installed. Obviously, it will have a domain controller. And inside the domain controller, we will be having organization unit, user groups, all those things we will create, but I will tell you later. Yeah, this is the one. And let me go and see. This is the link which I have opened. Okay, once you open this link, if you scroll down, you have an option. You can deploy it to Azure. Click on deploy to Azure. And after clicking deploy to Azure, this is done. So when you click deploy to Azure, Okay, you land in this particular blade, that is create an Azure VM with a new AD forest. Everything, AD forest, ADDS, everything gets created under one resource creation itself. So now we have to edit the parameter. Let me say edit parameter. On the edit parameter blade, select load file. I need to select load file. And after selecting load file, you have to upload this particular file called Azure deploy DC domain controller 11 or 11.parameters.json. So where do you get it? You have to go to your C drive. All files. Okay, it's in there, all files. You have to go to all files and then under all files labs, under labs 01. And under 01, you have to go to Azure DC, Azure deploy DC, Azure deploy DC 11.parameters.json. Let me select this. So there will be a couple of files. You need to select the right one. Right now we are installing a domain controller. So select that parameters. And once that is done, we can say save. And in here, so the rest parameters are features we have to add. So we will leave the subscription default resource group. Let it be 11 RG, which we have already created. And then we will go to region. Region is Southeast Asia. Make sure that all you are creating under Southeast Asia, just to avoid confusion. And then rest all you can leave it as it is. And then D2SV3, that is also, we have increased the memory quota, that's fine. And one last thing, what I have to add, the domain name. Domain name, what I want to give is adatum.com. Where is that? Yeah, here I have to add this domain name, adatum.com. And I can say review and create and create. So it'll take 20 to 25 minutes. Let me create first. If in case if it fails, you can recreate it once again, not a problem. Let me say create. Okay. Till then, so what are we doing now? So we need to set up this Active Directory because we don't have on-prem. We are getting some resource from Azure itself and we imitate that Azure resource as our on-prem resource. And that's it. So we are creating a VM with ADDS role. And while creating this ADDS, we also creating a new forest as well. And then the forest is getting created with a domain name called adatum.com. And that's it. So let me pause this video and I'll start once this lab deployment is done. This exercise deployment is done, then I will resume the video.